Okay, thank you for, first of all, thank you, Anu, special thank you for inviting me to this, the valuable and meaningful conference. I'm Moon Choi and I'm running a lab called the Aging and Technology Policy Lab at KAIST. KAIST is an engineering school, but we are a small group of social scientists in this the university. And I'd like to start this presentation with the cover page of the gerontologist. It's one of the most the prestigious journal in the field of gerontology. And this cover lady is my grandmother-in-law. So that's nice. So she's wearing a hat that I gave her for a Christmas present. So she's 84 years old and she's very active and she lives alone near my parents-in-law, but she's quite frail. But I really like her smile and such a the big heart person. Okay, so today I was going to give a presentation about the conceptual model about care robot, and then realize it's too conceptual. So I want to mix and match between the conceptual paper and also the empirical study that we recently finished. So it's about privacy issue, about using the technology in elder care. And first, I don't know how many of you know very well about South Korea. I guess K-pop is popular now and Gangnam Style was popular, but those kind of pop cultures. But actually, Korea is known for aging. I think most of people think about the Asia, most advanced economy is Japan, but Korea is the second. But economic development is matched with the population aging. And last year, there is a very famous paper from the Lancet, one of the most top journal in medicine, and they estimated the projection of life expectancy, and those babies born between 2010 and 2030, the population who might live longest around the world in South Korea, especially Korean women. Most of babies born these days might live up to 90 years old. That's a lot, yeah. So also in Europe, I think that Denmark is one of the top two, and also France and Japan and Australia and Sweden. But one of the most important things is about speed. How soon they reach a certain percentage of population aging. The most important percentage is 7%, 14%, and 20%. So about 7% of the population would be 65 and over. We call aging society. If it's 14, aged society. 20% means that 2 out of 10 people be older person in the society, means super aged society. But that happened in France. It took 115 years. Moving from 7% to 14%, and then 14 to 20% is 42 years. But in case of South Korea, it's only 18 years. We just turned 14% this year, but it would take about only 9 years when we reach the 20%. So that is a huge kind of ton over. And then we are not quite sure that we are ready for that big change or not, because the population age affect the medical system, caregiving, and also employment, lifestyle. All kind of social change might happen. So there are lots of discussion, at the government level and academia. And there are lots of good models about aging issue and successful aging, productive aging, good aging, well aging. But there are lots of criticism about many different models, but still, the most stable model, I think, is active aging, suggested by the World Health Organization, 2002. The idea is that there is always disability threshold. So if someone become very frail, but at a certain level, they might lose independence. So the most important thing in society is to, prevent. So prevent they would not fall under the disability threshold. And the idea is that important thing is about prevention and management of health. And another social phenomenon is about older adults living alone. That's one of the big and also new social phenomena in South Korea. In South Korea, the old tradition is to take care of parents, but that's not reality these days. So this is the percentage of older people living alone. So about only under the 10% of older people live alone in 1990, but these days about 2 out of 10 live alone. So one of the most popular Korean TV show is 나 혼자 산다. This means that I live by myself. That's the most popular Korean TV show. So people live alone, like showing their lifestyle, how they can entertain themselves and shopping and the new kind of living style. And he is one of the very famous actor in South Korea, and he was also one of this show. And he's cooking so well, he just take care of himself so well. And that is sort of the culture in South Korea. And okay, so there are lots of words about the e-house, m-house, mobile house, electronic house, medical information system. But I think the overarching terminology is digital house. And digital house usually for the reduce inefficiency, reduce cost, improve access, and increase quality, and also personalized medicine. And there are lots of different scope of digital house. And I think this is very interesting. About 8 years ago, there was a paper in JAX, and then they categorized technology, portable and environmental, and also monitoring and intervention. So just watching, or they do something, or people can wear, or it's the environmental. So they divided this kind of technologies. And I think the most important distinction between these are the private space versus public space. So about the private space, people started to install in-home monitoring. This is really kind of well-known the picture, and I think many of you have seen the motion sensors, and they tracking the medication, and also fine alarm and etc. And also wearable device. This is one of the most popular also wear adaptive technology. People check their activities. And in South Korea, we also have some initiatives, and we try to use technology to reduce the cost, increase efficiency, and also prevent the disability. So I would like to share 2 cases. And first case is about, it's called the Class 500. This is mostly top-notch kind of luxury senior housing. So our university is developing the app house, Dr. App. This is mobile technology. So we developed this kind of technology, and the test all the people living in the Class 500. And the Class 500 is in Seoul, and it's half a hotel, like really luxury hotel. Another half the people, all the people live there, and inside is like this. And then each individual own this kind of a really nice flat, and they have this kind of system, so it can track their the blood pressure, and also many of them have diabetes, so they can check their the biomarkers every day. But I heard that people don't use them much, so they just go downstairs, and they're always the health professionals, so they just go there and get help. But anyway, and also there's a motion the detection. And if there's no movement for certain hours, the health professional go and check. But these people do not have any disability, serious disability. They are very independent. Sometimes some of them use walkers. They are very frail, but still they are independent. And also, one of the important things is this kind of the individual, the motion sensor. It's the key. So they need that to get in their house, where they get any kind of access to the gym. It's like a card. So, but this is the data. So we collect all this data, and then about their movement. And this is also you can see the emergency alarm and that kind of thing. So that's a case of the very upper scale, about people with money. And this is the very extreme lower case. And this is a case about urban impoverished neighborhood. So this is about 20 minutes from our university and one of the poorest environment. So people live here almost like in the middle of the mountain, and then very, very old, house. And then government started to put the sticker on the house. If older people live alone, they put this kind of, kind of sticker. So if there are any emergency, and people can get it and help. And the government started to supply this kind of, it looks like the telephone, but it's not. Actually, it's an emergency button, and also social workers can communicate with older people using this the phone. And also, there's a motion sensor. You can see it's the same thing with the luxury flat. And also, there's the gas alarm. So if there's a gas leaking, it automatically go to the 911, and in Korea it's only 119, but anyway, 911, and then also there's the alarm system, but most older people do not like to wear it. If they feel like it's too much work and I'm still healthy, why do I need it? So and another one is the camera. But this is not that popular. Only a few houses have it, and usually near the kitchen. So if the motion sensor found that there's no movement for, say, 4 hours, the camera comes out and take one picture and gone. So the social workers can see what's happening in the house. So that is the system. So the first one is the private sector. The second one is about government, how they try to start to use technology to manage or prevent the disability in the aging population. But we have some questions in our research group that, have ever we thought about privacy issue? When we collect data, have we ever we asked whether they, the feeling okay about collecting the information and to share it with other people? And who are those other people? So we divided the questionnaire into two, in-home monitoring system, and the other thing is healthcare devices and services. So about the willingness to share the information, we think that maybe their age, gender, education, and living arrangement might affect it, and also their health condition, and also attitude toward technology might affect their willingness. So we conducted a survey last year, and 3 linear centers in the city, and it was a face-to-face interview. And it's not a large, sample size. It's a little bit exploratory study, so about 170. And they are a little bit the middle age, the middle old, and not yet oldest old. So they are about 77 years old, and about half are women. And these are the example of a survey. And so we used some statistics and then check what kind of factors affect their willingness to share. And we found that most people are pretty willing to provide their information. Only 1 out of 8, the older person do not want to monitor in their homes. And also lots of different behaviors, but they are quite sensitive about quality behavior. And about the entity to share with, they don't like to share their information with the insurance company. So it's quite surprising they don't trust government. Only 1/3 are willing to provide their information to government. They are very willing to share the information with the physician and family about in-home monitoring system. It's not a surprise. And about the factors, young age. I think age and education are quite important. Younger generation are much more sensitive about privacy issue. And also, if people are more educated, they are much more sensitive about their privacy issue. And also, attitude toward technology are another factor. And about healthcare devices and services, this is a conceptual model. So they are information subject and entity to share with it, and different factors affecting their willingness to share their personal information. And there are different entities. When we collect the data, we might think about, should we share this information with the family, spouse, or their adult children, hospital? for data purpose, the researcher, government officers, device developer, and insurance company. And the research showed that people are quite willing to share their information with family. About the hospital, they might be willing to share health and medical service information, but not feeling well about the socioeconomic information. But there's huge decline between hospital and researcher. And then the least favored entities, insurance company. And also government agencies not their favorite the entity to share the information with. And these are the research about what kind of factors affect each entity and the subject. And quite interesting, and age and education are most predominant factors affecting the different the subject and also entity. And about the technology attitude technology, hospital and device developer and corporate might be associated with the attitude. And also one of the most important things is about living alone. So all the people living alone, especially for women, are afraid to share their information with the government agency. And I think one of the most important reasons is that the poverty rate for older people are quite high these days. So because the pension system started about 30 years ago, and so it's not really ready to provide enough income, so many older people rely on government support, so they might afraid to affect their eligibility to about their government support. So we guess that that's the reason that they might be more sensitive about sharing their information with the government. And okay, so the policy, the suggestions about the research, we might think that the future older people, baby boomers, might be more concerned about the privacy when they use the devices. And also, it is very important to design the technology with the granular control. So when we collect data, it's not wholesome whether we share or not. It's more about individual different information. So we have to give more control to the users, how much control over their information. And also, it is very important to the policy and legal tools. They can control over their personal information. And these are the findings. But I thought a lot about what's the meaning in the everyday life. And this is a very social science, quite classic research. These days, I think a lot about the life course. And so, personal story is I delivered a baby. He's about 9.5 months these days. And I take care of him. And that makes me think a lot about the first 1 year of life and the last 1 year of life. It's quite similar because for the babies, dependence to independence. But the later 1 year of life is from the independence to dependency. It needs a lot of time. Actually, also our kids, he always needs at least one other to take care of it. I think it's the same thing about the aging parents and older person. It's quite similar the last year of life and first year of life. And then based on the study about activities related to caregiving, it's about emotional support, instrumental activities, feeding, and transportation, and personal care, and content and monitoring agencies. There are lots of different activities that are required to take care of one person, but they are quite different. But these days, I think a lot about what can be replaced by machine and what should not be replaced by non-humans. So I think the first keynote speaker mentioned about care network. I cannot agree more because many of my friends also have little babies, and we all of us have very different kind of coping mechanism. I don't hire any nanny. I made a group of our family. So we divided our work, but some of my friends hire, the nanny, and then we all have different the strategies. And I think a lot about, what kind of machine do we need. So last year I bought new machines, and the first one is about water purifier. It can control the temperature, and also the bottle cleaner, and also the washer, dryer, and then all these things, and also the lava, the cleaning lava. And I bought all these things. You can save a lot of time. But when and also I recently bought the toys, and they are entertainment and kind of educational purpose. But I think a lot about, what are the purpose of these machines. And the first one about the water purifier, and those machines are very instrumental activities. And it does not involve any emotional support. But second part of kind of lullaby mobile, it automatically sing a song. It's replaced by human being, and also sensory gene, and also activity saucer. These are kind of involved a certain type of emotion with a baby. And it made me think a lot about should these kind of activity be replaced by the machine, not by human being. And that made me think a lot. And these days there are lots of investment about humanoid, and it's like a robot, looks like they act like a human being. And there are top manufacturers, and many of them are in Korea, also Japan, and China, and also UK and US. And those robots, and one of the most promising robot and in the TV, and it's Romeo. It's not out there. It's the co-project between France and Japan. And they started a couple of years ago, but the product is not out there. But they try hard. I think most of you might know SoftBank, and one of the most top company to produce the humanoid. And if you go to Japan, I visit once in a while, and when you go to the store, you can greeted by a robot. And actually, it's not high functioning. It's more like a chatbot. If they take a menu and what would you like to drink and etc. But anyway, so they started to develop the Romeo, and also Kaisei is known for Hugo. If you visit our university, you can see Hugo, one of the most well-known robot around the world, and they even got the award from DARPA Challenge. And DARPA Challenge is development of a robot for disaster. But actually, they are quite similar to the military robot. The healthcare robot is quite similar to military robot. It's quite interesting, taking care of people and killing people. Kind of ask they require very similar, instrumental kind of tools. Yeah, but they are quite similar. So, but it's quite surprising when we see the Hugo. It looks like a human and act like a human. Actually, do you know the 5 or 6 challenges suggested by DARPA is? It's quite interesting. Open the door, and then walk, and then get in the car, and drive maybe 1 mile or something like that. Human being is very easy thing, but robot it's really hard. So when we imagine the humanoid, it seems like in the near future, maybe 5 years, the World Economic Forum always talk about the rise of robot and we might lose all our jobs, but that's not true. So based on the hype cycle of technology, when the research and development to pull down the startup company started to develop many things, people's expectation is so high, but actually technology is not there yet. It is very beginning stage. And then people started to give up, and then our expectation is getting so low, and then slowly develop the technology. But we are not sure how long it would take to get to humanoid, really replaced by human being. And so I think that there's no care over maybe 20, 30 years. I think in the future it will be more like a dishwasher, or I say the washer, or cleaning. That kind of things may be replaced by robot, but very simple task, very focused. but not humanoid. That's just imagination, I think. So, taking care of baby these days, I think a lot about, increase the efficiency and easiness is always right. We tried so hard to reduce the cost to increase efficiency. But sometimes I don't know the purpose of life, because we have 24 hours and then we have certain hours to work and live and spend time with the family. But what's the most important thing in the life? And is it worth it to replace human being to take care of someone? So I think it is very important for policymakers to think about what should not be given up, what should be maintained by humans, not machine. And also, that is very important question. So, because I'm at high school, most of my close friends are engineers. They are very, advanced developers of advanced technology, AI and chatbot and etc. And one of my friends talked to me that she's developing a chatbot. So the chatbot can provide counseling to people depressed. But I was shocked, and I told her that not develop that kind of robot, instead develop a robot to train the counselor so they can do better job. That's the idea, how to see the problem. So we have to think a lot about what should be replaced by machine and what should not. I think that kind of question should be discussed not by engineers, but by the care professionals and also the social scientists, including the engineers. Okay, that's all my slides, and this research is supported by the National Research Foundation of Korea. And thank you.